Welcome to the Veil Between Lives, a sanctuary where lived experience meets the great mystery. Here we hold soulful conversations with those who have touched the unseen and what lies beyond the physical world. We're honored you're here stepping into this space with us. I'm Susan, joined by my co-host, Em, and our warm welcome to our very special guest today, Kristen Podulka. Kristen is a Reiki master teacher, an energy healing practitioner based in Palo Alto, California, working with clients locally and globally. Over the past 6 years, she has supported over 1,000 women navigating grief, major life transitions, and spiritual awakening. Through Reiki, intuitive guidance, and group experiences, she helps women connect with their intuition, regulate their nervous systems, and understand the deeper patterns shaping their lives so they can move forward with clarity, confidence, and personal power. Welcome to the show, Kristen.
Thank
I'm
you.
excited to talk to you today. I'd
Thank
love it. Yes. I'd love it if we'd start maybe with a little bit of your backstory. And maybe if you had any kind of intuitive or spiritual experiences when you were a young child or a young person.
Yeah, thank you so much. I love the question. I think of it in terms of being a very imaginative child. I believe that imagination, visualization, these are all ways of expressing intuition or experiencing intuition. We just give it different names. So I was incredibly imaginative. I had 3 imaginary friends. My parents were very, they would humor me. The friends would, ride in the car with us. It wasn't until later in life, and I'm saying within the last 10 years, that I mentioned that in a session for me, not a session I was leading, but a session I was in. And the facilitator said to me, "You should look up those 3 names and see if they were souls that had passed that were with you as a child." So I did go down that rabbit hole. I didn't find exactly, news stories from the early 80s with these names, but I will tell you that they have now come back to me at this stage in my life as my guardian angels. So I speak with them every single day, and I met them when I was probably 5 years old.
Wow, I love it.
I love it too. That's great.
Oh, what about if you can maybe keep going on the storyline and let us know if there was some kind of a catalyst or something, a shift or a pivot in your life that kind of launched you into the whole world of Reiki and intuition
Yeah.
as now you're using for a profession and helping
Yeah,
others.
thank you. This is my second career. So I think that's a common story I see with a lot of people. I like I said, grew up in the 80s and the 90s. I did all the things you were supposed to do. I, got good grades. I went to college. I got my degree in marketing. I got a job in marketing. So I was like, ticking all the boxes that I was led to believe would lead to a fulfilling life, right? That was the promise. And it did for a while. And what happened for me was actually a physical accident. Out of the blue, it was 10 days after I turned 40. I had never broken a bone ever in my life. And I was having coffee with a friend, and we were walking, and the way I describe it is 1 minute I was up and the next minute I was down. I didn't trip on something. I didn't stumble. There was nothing in my way. There was no water on the ground. I literally fell forward, a pain I've never, ever, ever experienced. I had already had 2 kids by that point. And I knew I couldn't walk. I was face down, and my friend called 911, and, the paramedics came, turned me over, pulled me on a stretcher. I remember I had to call my office from the back of the ambulance saying I was, at a coffee meeting, I'm not coming to work, and everything changed from that point forward. I will say, literally, that a moment of magic happened in that exact moment of the accident. This again came up in therapy a couple years later, but I said, I remembered being down and the pain was so intense. I was coming in and out of consciousness. So I would black out and then I would kind of come back and yell and then I would black out. And at one point, a person must have been walking through the area that we were, and it was a young, like college age student, and she scrunched down next to me and she kept trying to talk to me and she kept saying, it's okay, your friend is called, they're on their way, the paramedics are coming, and then she was trying to distract me, right? She was like, tell me about yourself, where do you live, oh, do you have kids? And so she was engaging with me, trying to keep me conscious, trying to distract me. And I remember I kept saying to her, you're so nice, this is who, I don't know who you are, this is so nice. So that came up, like I said, in therapy, I was talking about, I was like, yeah, it felt like this angel was just there. And the therapist said to me, well, maybe it was an angel. And I said, well, no, it was a college student. And she said, have you ever asked your friend who was with you if there was an actual person talking to you? And I was like, no, I didn't even think of it. And sure enough, my friend said, no, there was no one.
Oh my goodness.
And I had a full conversation with this person calming me down. So, and like I said, in and out of consciousness. So I was like, okay. So that literally instantly kicked off my healing journey. The second thing that happened was I ended up needing reconstructive surgery on my leg and my ankle. Like I shattered it for just tipping over, shattered my bones. So much so in the emergency room when they did the x-rays, a nurse came up to me and said, so were you in a car accident? Is that what happened? And I said, no, I was drinking coffee. Like, that's it. That I don't know how I crushed so many bones. So anyway, I was on bed rest for 6 weeks and couldn't move. And a neighbor came over and they were lovely and bringing me food and helping with my young children and all the things that good friends do. And the one woman said to me, so have you talked to the healer who lives around the corner from you? And I said, what are you talking about? Healer? What do you mean? A nurse? Like, what are you talking about? And she was like, no, there's a healer like 5 doors down. She does energy healing. She does quantum healing. She does color therapy. I said, I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm in so much pain. If you want to send somebody over, like, great. So this woman came over and I didn't even know, she didn't say the word Reiki at the time, but that's what she was doing. She was giving me Reiki and just talking me through it. And she left a spray that she had made, a healing spray. It was green. She told me to visualize green, and she gave me my first crystal. I had never worked with a crystal before, and it was a green crystal. And she said, I was in a big boot at that point. I had to stabilize everything. And she said, go ahead and put your crystal in the boot. And I was like, okay, I wasn't totally sold on what she was saying, but I also wasn't against it. I was at that point, I just wanted to feel better and recover. I totally forgot that the crystal was in the boot. And the next doctor's appointment I went to, the doctor, I'm up on the table and the doctor's taking the big old Velcro straps off the boot, and a green crystal goes flying across the doctor's office. And I was like, oh, whoop, sorry, that's just my healing crystal. Could you just hand that to me? And he was like, okay, and I was like, put that in my purse and take that back home. And I'm not saying this is everyone's experience, but this was my experience. When he looked at the x-rays, he was a little confused and he said, now wait, how long ago was your surgery? And I said, you're the doctor. Like, doesn't it say how long ago my surgery was? And he's like, wow. And he said, I am amazed at your healing. He said, I have never seen such a serious injury heal this quickly. And I remember kind of laughing at him, and I was like, oh, so you mean the crystal worked?
Oh
And
my God.
he's like, well, you're doing something right, is what he said. But it was just, for me, it was that first moment of believing in all the things, believing in the doctor, believing in the crystal, believing in the energy that the woman down the street brought over. So I don't really even see it as like a switch in the way I was thinking. It was just an expansion in the way I was thinking. And it just went from there. My curiosity was insatiable. I started getting all the books and watching all the YouTubes and signing up for classes. And I think that's a similar path. There's no spirit school that we can all wake up one day like college and enroll in and be like, okay, now I'm doing this. A lot of people have to weave their way through it. And we find our guides along the way. And that's at the end of it, or middle, wherever I am in my journey now, is when I was like, you know what, I want to help other people with this. And that's how I knew I wasn't going to go back to corporate America. I had done 20 years. I was burnt out. It didn't fit me anymore at all. And I giggle because, the universe, she's a trickster sometimes. And I think, like, could you not have just, given me a dream or, a song on the radio, like something, a bird at my windowsill? Like, did you really have to knock me over, and get reconstructive surgery? But I did, because I had been ignoring the signs. When I look back at it now, I was miserable in corporate America. It was not a sustainable way for me to live. A lot of bad coping mechanisms, stress, just not taking care of myself. And so I needed a really big wake-up call. And that's what I got.
You were forced to slow down, right?
Yeah.
So that you could go
Literally.
inside. It's really interesting how that happens. What did your friends and family think about the green crystal? And now I'm reading all these books and I'm fascinated by Reiki and healing. Like, did you get any pushback at all? Or tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, the truth is, spiritual journeys can be lonely work, and they can be very confusing at times. And you can think, I don't know, I think in the beginning, I wanted everyone to kind of be on board with me and go down this road with me. And I would say, oh, isn't it cool? Let's all go get crystals. And then, no, I don't, why would I? And I very much still was in that, I think, corporate mindset of like pushing all this. I was so excited about what I was learning. And then you get to that realization that it's not about anyone else, and the ones who are meant to be on this part of my journey, they still are, and the ones who were meant to fall away fell away, and it was painful and necessary. And I'm not shy about telling clients I work with that. I'm not, because I want to normalize it. I want people to understand, when we say it can be hard work. I mean, anyone who's gone to talk therapy or any kind of therapy, it's not easy. It's not easy. So, but also it wasn't easy the way I was living in corporate America. So I needed to make that choice, to make that shift, to and yeah, so in my heart of hearts, the ones who are still with me they're meant to be at this point in my journey. But I lost a lot of friends. Part of my healing journey as well, I hope this isn't oversharing, was I had to go no contact with my parents.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that was a huge step in my healing. I am a completely different person after making that decision in all the best ways, in the healthiest ways.
Yeah.
Wow.
What a journey. Hmm?
Yeah.
So, Kristen, how do you define Reiki and kind of what's happening during the process of Reiki? If maybe you could describe that to the
Yes.
listener who doesn't know anything about what Reiki is.
Yeah, so Reiki is an ancient healing modality. Practitioners such as myself are trained as a channel for the energy. So even though I may call myself, and practitioners call themselves, energy healers, Reiki itself is self-healing. So I do not and would never qualify myself as having special powers or magical powers or anything like that. I have been taught to be a channel. The energy is all around us. It is the energy that makes the sun rise every morning. It is the energy of the planets. It is the energy of the animals and the trees and the breeze and everything out there. And Reiki practitioners are trained to call that in through a channel and then radiate it through our hands. And so a client would come for a Reiki session, and absolutely any reason. You can come for any reason. I can't tell you how many people walk into my studio and go, I don't really know why I'm here. And it's like, that's fine. You don't have to, it's not like therapy where I have to know your whole backstory. It's not like a medical doctor where I have to do an intake chart. No, you just show up curious and ready to receive. And then you get comfortable and we play music and there are crystals in the room and you receive this higher frequency of energy through my channel. And every experience is different. So it's hard for me to describe. I can't give like a one sentence answer to, what Reiki is other than channeled energy. But how it makes people feel is more relaxed, number one. I joke that I wish I took before and after photos of people who came in, because people will come in and they're tense and they're tight and they're closed and maybe they're grief or they're clenching their jaw or they're, whatever is going on with them. And then after, everything softens and I see the biggest smiles. Scientifically, if you want to try and understand Reiki, there's been some studies, not a lot and not large scale studies, but what science says is it is a nervous system reset. So you are able to come in and move out of fight or flight. That's why I say when they come in, they're all like clenched and ready for battle, which is how most of us function 24 hours a day. And they're able to truly relax and shift the nervous system into rest and digest mode, which is where we go when we have a deep sleep, when we have a REM deep sleep. That is when our hair grows, our fingernails grow, our heart rate slows, our breathing deepens. Everything regenerates when we're in that deep sleep. Reiki gives you that. It gives you that same break any time of day. And again, as the facilitator, I am channeling the energy. I'm also holding the space for that. We need help in the way today's society runs. We have to carve things out, right? So I'm going to carve out this hour for healing. I'm going to carve out this for meditation. I'm going to carve out, so I really do see that as a large part of what I do is I offer the space. I hold the container for women to come in and have permission to reset their nervous system. I also teach Reiki because I am a firm believer that the more people who are attuned to this energy, whether they're channeling it for themselves, their pets, their family, or opening their own business, the better the world will be. Every person out there working with that higher divine energy is raising the vibration of the planet. And so as many women as I can teach, all ages, learn it for themselves.
Beautiful. How do you prepare? Like, do you do anything specific to get ready for a session when you're having a client come in? Can you talk a little bit about that? Your
Yes.
own practices for grounding and preparation.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's probably one of the biggest learnings I had was, we have control of our energy. We have control of our reactions, right? Our responses. I think so much of my life was spent reacting and absorbing, like many empaths, to everything happening around me, from the traffic to my boss to my kids to the news to, it was just constant. And to now be in a place of realizing I can choose what I let in. So I practice that in my day-to-day life. The way I do it with Reiki clients is, first of all, I built a little Reiki studio, which is a separate space from my home. And that is very intentional. I feel the shift in myself when I walk in here. It's not even connected to my home. So I have a physical separation. So that works very well for me. And then, yes, I have a whole routine that I have just made up. No one taught it to me. But I have sprays that I make with little essential oils and crystals. And so I spray aromatherapy in the room. I have crystal sound bowls. So I'm ding the two sound bowls and let the vibration fill the room. And then I do a grounding exercise where I take a few breaths, sit in my chair, close my eyes, and it's a very common grounding exercise, but I do it before I see any client or really have any meeting out here. I imagine the roots growing out of my feet into the earth. And, Mother Earth gives us that grounding, steady energy. I imagine every single layer of the earth holding me up and just that immense strength and support. And I just connect deeply into that. And I truly feel tethered. I actually, at this point, because I've been doing this for so many years consistently, it happens pretty quickly. I can close my eyes and my feet feel heavy, almost like magnets on the earth. Now that takes a lot of practice. In the beginning, it was probably more like a 15-minute, visualization that I would do. And then I tune into my guides. I repeat the Reiki principles, the 5 Reiki principles. And then I invite the Reiki angels into the space. I see them in the 4 corners. And I work with their energy, and then I call in the Reiki symbols. And I have crystals right here if I need them. So right here on my desk, I have a tourmaline if I need extra grounding, depending on how my energy is that day. I have a pink quartz, a clear quartz, and why am I blanking on the light purple? Yes, thank you. Amethyst. And these ones help me go deeper or clearer or connect to my heart. So it's part ritual. It's a lot of intention. It's a lot of consistency. And then some tools like the sprays and the bowls and the crystals. And, really want to say that's what works for me. I am the biggest believer in you do what works for you. I would never tell a client, you have to get this crystal. You have to. Because if somebody just thinks this is just a pretty black rock, then it's just a pretty black rock. And so who am I, to try and sell this to you as anything else? But I feel it in my hand. I feel a vibration. I can feel it in my body. So this holds significance for me. And if that works for you, then beautiful.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So what types of people seek you out?
One of the things I loved about Reiki and why I think it drew me in as a modality to offer is it is available to everyone. Absolutely zero prerequisite. So I have had newborn babies in their little car seat brought into my studio, all the way up to I have a regular client who comes who's 78 years old. And she comes regularly, a couple times a month. Because of where I live in Palo Alto, I'm near a university. One might think intellectual students would not necessarily be drawn to this. I beg to differ. I have many, many college students come through here needing a reset from all the work they do with their logical mind and their conscious mind. And they just need to come in and sit with their subconscious for an hour. So I see a lot of students. There's also professors that come through here. You don't have to be in crisis. You don't have to be, grieving or recovering in some sort of way. When I mention regular clients, it's like any other practice you seek out regularly. You go to the dentist to get a cleaning every 6 months. Doesn't mean there's something wrong with your teeth every 6 months. So it's the same with your energy. You can come for a tune-up or a little release, because the Reiki is going to release any heaviness on you, and it's going to refuel you with that light, higher vibration energy. I always say Reiki does not make your problems go away. It helps you handle them better.
Mm-hmm.
So it moves you out of that, maybe feeling panicked or frustrated or unsure or overwhelmed. It moves you into a little more space of clarity and reason and discernment. And, you feel more empowered. So I don't know. Did I answer the question about who comes? Honestly, it really is it is literally anyone. I have a client who comes who is a pediatric ICU nurse at Stanford Hospital. And there are times that she will call me and she will come here in her scrubs. And she's coming straight from work, and we don't have to talk and we don't have to do any. And she just comes in, and there's been times where she has cried for a straight hour. There's been times that she's asked for extra prayers, for extra strength. She's questioned her career. It's incredibly emotional. And she literally just comes to reset before she can even drive home. So, that is one of the extremes. Another extreme is I had somebody come the day after they got a cancer diagnosis, and it was not good. And they said, they were one of the ones, they said, I don't know why I'm here. They said, I do not expect you, to cure the cancer or anything like that. And I said, well, yes, that's not the case. That's not what this does. But she said, I don't know how to come to terms with it. So she just needed the space to start processing that new news. I've had women come with fertility help. They come before or after a fertility treatment. I've had people come pre-surgery, post-surgery. I have had a few people come. Grief tends to be one, because grief is so uncomfortable in our bodies and we just want to shake it out. So grief does tend, I find people kind of are seeking help with grief. So I do get a lot of people experiencing that, and again, Reiki's not going to make the grief disappear, certainly not in one session, but it's going to help it move just a little.
Yeah. So beautiful. I love that answer about just having it move a little bit. I think, sometimes people have this idea that these healing modalities, like I want a cure for something, but maybe we can't cure something, but maybe we can find some space and some healing around whatever the issue is, some lightness, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
I really love to piggyback on a word that you used earlier, because I think you're a really good person to talk about this and speak to it. You were talking about empaths. I'd love it if you could speak to, and maybe some people in our audience, I think our audience is pretty savvy, but I would love it if you could maybe speak to a little bit of what you know about personally about being an empath, and maybe talk a little bit to our audience about what that means and actually what we can do if a person is empathic to kind of ground ourselves and protect our energy and our space.
Yeah, definitely. I hope the word empath is being used more and understood more. I know there are more books on it. I think when I was growing up, an empath was, almost seen as something you needed to get over. You needed to toughen up. Oh, she's so sensitive, or oh, why is she crying again? Or oh my God, get over it. That has nothing to do with you. And, so I'm hoping that there is a shift in people learning what it means to be an empath. I do believe empaths are tuned into a higher frequency. They are picking up on subtleties that not everyone does. And it's not right or wrong. It's not good or bad. It's just a difference in how you show up in this world and how someone else shows up in this world. I have a theory that old souls are the higher empaths, that we've all been here a few times. So we come back in and we're like, all right, I don't need to do all that low vibration human stuff for very long. I'm working here now. I'm seeing, literally seeing more than some people are seeing. And that can be picking up emotions of other people. That can be picking up spirits of those who have passed on. That can be picking up soul connections, where you're like, how do I know you? And practically and realistically, we don't know each other, but we know each other. That's an example of an empath connection where it's like, no, I know you. No, we don't. I also, say when I was in corporate America, to generalize, it's not very good spot for an empath, because there's a lot of personalities and there's a lot of posturing and ego and, and empaths. I can remember sitting in meetings, because an empath can be very good at reading a room, which is both a skill and incredibly hard to deal with sometimes. And I would walk into a meeting room and I would just know, oh, that person's not in a good mood. Something must have gone wrong. Oh, I bet that meeting didn't go the way they thought. Oh, I bet that budget didn't get approved. And I would just have that, and I would just all these energies. And I would be exhausted. I would be a zombie at the end of the day. I'll tell you what else empaths are really good at. They're really good party hosts. Oh my God, an empath throws the best party, because they know what everyone wants and what everyone needs, and they can anticipate expectations, and they can, I would throw a party and I would have everything thought out, and I would know before someone else knew. They want a refill. Oh yeah, I did want a refill. Thank you. And it's like, yep. I was 2 seconds ahead of you. I felt that. I knew it. I saw it. And again, I would need 3 to 5 business days to recover from a social gathering, because it was just draining, exhausting. And then, so if any of these stories resonate with listeners, reading the room, just sensing things when you walk in the door, sensing moods. What I came to realize is, again, for me personally, a lot of that looking outward was so I wasn't looking inward. I wasn't ready to look inward. I wasn't ready to know what I needed, what I wanted, what I preferred. It was much easier for me to scan the room and tell you what everybody else wanted. And so really my empathic boundaries came as part of my healing process. So I don't know that it's as simple, again, as telling someone, oh, black tourmaline is very good for energetic boundaries. It is. That's what it's known for. It's a very grounding crystal. At the same time, you have to be ready to let go of those external inputs. So it's not a blanket, one size fits all. Because as soon as you start allowing people to be people and have their own thoughts and their own emotions and their own reactions to things, you have nowhere else to look but in. And that was a big part of it. I mentioned no contact with my parents. That was a big part of it. I'm the eldest daughter. I was the perfectionist child. I was the people pleaser. I was making sure that their emotions were managed, and I didn't have any connection to my own. So as my boundaries started coming up again and again and again, I would have to choose me. And that was a huge lesson.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's a good reminder.
Really good reminder. Yeah. I used to think being an empath was a curse. Now I think it's a gift when you learn to manage your energy. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Whose energy is it? Is it mine or is it somebody else's?
Exactly. Exactly. And there are, tools and modalities that can help with that. Obviously, Reiki is really good for getting rid of energies that aren't yours and refueling with the cosmic energy, the life force energy. Grounding is very good to bring yourself back into your body, into your energy. I know visualization is another really good technique for empathic boundaries. I know a common one is closing your eyes and imagining that bubble of light around you. And again, it's not stopping your interaction. It's just, I imagine it as this like bouncy bubble. And as negativity is coming towards me, it can just bounce off and go someplace else. I don't have to absorb it. And aromatherapy helps some people, very grounding scents like cinnamon and patchouli can again help bring you into your body. Meditation is another incredibly important tool for centering yourself and remembering all the answers are here and letting everything else fall away. All of those practices help us.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. What other modalities do you weave into your practice? Do you blend them in with Reiki? Do you have other things that upon request or things that maybe come in at the moment and it's something you're intuitively feeling that the client needs? Because I know you do more than Reiki, you do a lot more. So can you talk about some of the other ways that you support people?
Yeah, thank you. What happened for me when I got through all 3 levels of Reiki training and became the master level, the way Reiki is taught is 2-pronged. So there's the very practical hand positions, symbols that you draw. There's the history, the principles, very much a study of Reiki. There's also the energetic and spiritual aspect of it. And those are passed down through an attunement process or an initiation process. And what can happen through that initiation as our energy channels are opened more, because we're all born as a channel, we can all do it. Reiki expands it and helps you connect to it more. sort of a fun little afterthought that can happen is your psychic abilities can also open, your intuition can open, your connection to people who've passed, spirits can open, connection to angels, guides, seeing messages, all these things that, again, I believe we all have access to. It's just, what are you spending your days focusing on, right? If somebody says, oh, but I'm not psychic, I say, well, how much do you practice? I can say I'm not a piano player because I don't practice the piano. But if I want to be a piano player, I know how to go about that, right? I take piano lessons. So it's the same thing with these, psychic abilities. I decided to dedicate my time and work with this. So what happened for me as I started my practice is I would be doing a Reiki session and I would have things pop into my mind. And I love how the universe shows up, because you couldn't have written this out. Because I swear the universe like baby stepped me into it. It wasn't like a lightning bolt to the head. It was like, okay, we're going to give her this message and see what she does with it. All right, we're going to give her this message and see what she does. And one of my practice clients, before I was charging money or had started anything, I'm like, what? Literally, I can't stop hearing peaches, seeing peaches, smelling peaches. And I thought, this is insane. I do not understand what's happening. And I finished the Reiki session, and I was so nervous to give feedback in the beginning because I thought, what am I saying? I was doubting myself. My conscious mind was trying to, cut off my subconscious mind. And I said to her, look, I'm just going to, I said, I don't understand what this means, but my teacher taught me to give what I get, and I'm getting peaches. Does that mean anything? And she bursts out laughing and she goes, oh my God, I was sitting here making a grocery list. She goes, I have to go to Costco after this. And she goes, and I couldn't remember what it was my daughter wanted. And she goes, peaches.
Oh my goodness. I love it.
And I'm like, okie dokie. So it's this, the universe was giving me these very low stakes, I'm not going to change anyone's life by telling them peaches, but it was like, it just kept giving me enough proof. So I ended up, once I decided this is going to be a business for me, this is what I'm going to move forward doing with my life. Reiki doesn't have to include psychic feedback. It absolutely does not. It is a modality in and of itself. But my channel opened up that intuition, and it pours in, which I'm open to and I welcome it. So I do offer intuitive feedback as part of my Reiki sessions. And then I also did training with tarot cards. So I offer tarot card readings. And then I took, this is all before I opened my practice, but it's interesting how it ended up being woven in. I took a year-long intuition class with a mentor. It was so much fun. And so there's a lot I utilized from that. And then mediumship, speaking to the beyond, that also started coming through, much to my surprise. I was not prepared for that. And again, it started with a woman. This is now 6 or 7 years ago. And I was giving her Reiki, and there was a voice. This man was in my head, and he kept saying, you have to tell her, I know it wasn't her fault, that I'm here, that I love her. And I'm like, what is happening? And I didn't know this woman. Some neighbor had referred her to me, had never met her in my life. We finished, and she had said nothing at the beginning of the Reiki session, nothing about why she was there. She didn't want to talk. We went right into the session. And so after I said to her, I said, you're going to have to forgive me. I said, I don't even know why I'm saying this, but I said, I kept hearing a voice, my heart is beating so fast telling you the story right now.
Wow.
And I said, this older gentleman's voice wants you to know, like, it's not your fault. He understands. He's with you. He loves you. And she bursts into tears. and she's hiding her face, and she's sobbing and sobbing and sobbing. And I was like, what did I say? And this was right like 6 or 8 months into COVID. And I was giving her Reiki outside with masks 6 feet apart. And she said, this is why I came to you. And I said, what are you talking about? I don't talk to, like, what do you, I don't know why this is happening. And she said, that's my dad. I'm Canadian and he passed away and I couldn't get to him. And so I said, oh my God, well then, and she's like, I came to you because I was hoping he would come through to you. Wow. So she knew before I knew that I was a channel for that. It was fascinating. So I don't offer mediumship as a service yet. I don't know why. I'm trained in it. I have since trained. And I've done, you know, friends and family and people, spirits do come through. Yeah, it really is when people come in for a session and they are so open and curious, and I am able to be in their energy, the messages just flow. So yeah, so I offer that. And then that has led to, you know, we talked about being an empath and like how do you learn about that? And where do you go with that? Is I've started groups, women's groups, because we need places to go. We need someone to facilitate groups. And I am more than happy to be that someone in my local community here. I have a goddess gathering group. We're on year 2. We call in the goddesses each month. It's a different goddess that we call in and we work with her energy and talk about, you know, what the goddess can help us with that month and how we can honor them. It's an absolutely magical group of women. I'll give a quick anecdote. It's 222 right now. See, I love looking at the messages. The goddesses are like, we're here. But last night, Athena came through. So we worked with Athena, you know, and she's known as the goddess of war. And so as a group, she's the goddess of war, but she's the goddess of the strategy of war. So it's not the warring violence. She is the wisdom, the strategy. So we sat in that energy, but as a group, we all meditated and visualized love and light to every place on the planet affected by war right now. And just sit in that power and feel not only the personal power, but the collective power is amazing. And it helps get through these hard times. So that's one group. I have another group called Holistic Healers Mastermind, and that is a group of other healing practitioners, and we talk about our businesses. It's like having our own little board of directors, and that has been incredibly helpful. We're in year 3 of that. I do Reiki share circles in my community. No charge. Anyone can come who knows Reiki, and we practice Reiki on each other, and we ask each other questions, and we talk about the modality and share stories. Again, it's just so you don't feel alone. And then this year I started full moon gatherings in person, and that has been a great entry level draw. That is getting people are coming out of the woodwork for that one. It's like friends of friends of friends. It feels like women are like, oh yeah, the moon. Okay, the moon, you know. Then we can get into the witchier energy, you know, deep stuff. But yeah, the moon group, I feel like I'm getting to a whole new group, which is exciting.
Yeah, women have been gathering in moon circles for
Ever.
a very long time. Love that.
Yeah, it reminds us of cycles and just an opportunity to start fresh every month.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just to release and then set intentions and yeah, and I make it fun. You know, we have a little project every time. So one month we did mandala coloring together. Another month I got burn paper from a witch on Etsy, and we wrote down what we wanted to release, and then, you know, burnt it in my cauldron in the back, you know, of my patio. And yeah, so and everyone loves it. I mean, it's a break from every day, and it's a return, like you said, Em, to our roots. Literally, we are gathering on the backs of ancient women practices from, you know, the beginning of time, goddesses and priestesses and, you know, all of that. So yeah, I find it's is a way to honor our ancestry as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you know, there are so many ways to just pull in small little rituals that do connect us with our roots and our ancestry. It can be modernized. It can be. It's really about the intent, right? We start with the intent, and I love these burning papers, by the way, where you can
Oh,
just write things and let it go.
Mm-hmm.
It is amazing, helpful, and how powerful it is.
I think that's the word. I think life, when it feels overwhelming, we don't remember what power we have. And so, yeah, if I had to sum up what I want to do and what I'm creating is to empower women, to just remind us you can be an empath and you can have boundaries, and you can start over every month with a clean cycle, and you can lose the friendships, and you can take a break from communicating with your parents. And guess what else? You can leave the boyfriend, and you can leave the husband, and you know, just truly empowering us to live our authentic lives. It's a lot of deconstructing. It's a lot of unlearning as well as learning.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love this idea of self-empowerment, right? And being able to recreate ourselves
Mm-hmm.
in different phases as we walk along our paths, and allowing ourselves the permission to do
Yep,
that. Not boxing ourselves in, but really walking in our own right with each step through our lives.
absolutely.
And I think as we women, as we grow, in particular as a maturing woman, I find I can look back at my life as a history.
Exactly. And not being afraid to try a different path, or being afraid to make a mistake, or, you know, like when we started this conversation and I said I did everything I was supposed to, I went to college and I got the job, that was out of fear. That was fear driven. That was like, if I don't, you know, then what? And to be at this age and this phase of my life and not be driven by fear, and to know that mistakes are the point. That's the point. Then you pivot, then you learn, then you shift. It's just such a freer place to live life from. And we all get there when we get there, right? That's the other thing. Like I said, I see myself as the container, the one who holds the space and meets you where you're at. Zero expectations. And guess what? You know, we all have the good days where it's like, yay, I've come so far. And then we'll have the days where it's like, oh my God, I haven't even begun.
Yeah.
You know, and it's holding the space for all of that and all the in between.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that. You were just saying about the no mistakes, right? I wonder if you can elaborate on that statement. There are no mistakes in why you are here, and the moments
Mm-mm.
that feel like everything is falling apart are not random. They're part of a deeper unfolding. I love that statement. Can you elaborate on this?
Yes, I believe that with my whole being. When Reiki is channeled, we set the intention that it is for the highest good. We don't set the intention that your grief disappears, or that your, you get pregnant next month if you're coming for that, or that your boyfriend proposes, or whatever it is. We think in our conscious mind, well, this is what needs to happen, and this is the order, and this is, well, but of course that's the good thing. The good thing would be I get pregnant and have a baby. When we take a step back and set the intention for the highest good, it gives space for all the options. We can be unintentionally limiting ourselves if we think A is a mistake and B is the correct answer. What about all the rest of the alphabet? Things we couldn't even dream up for ourselves if we were given all the time. So it's that trust in something higher, that trust in the mystery, that trust in the divine that allows us to set the expectation for my highest good. We are not boxing ourselves in. And when you look at it from that perspective, there are no mistakes. Are there challenges? Yes. Is there yes. Is there heartache and pain? Yes. And are you stronger because of it? Did it force you to go a different direction? Did it alter everything you thought you knew? We can't possibly know what is for our highest good, because that's only our logical thinking. That's not all the other part of our brain that even the scientists are like, we don't know what all this is. We don't know what's going on in that part. So I truly believe that there are no mistakes. And like I said, the universe, she's gonna find you. If it is meant for you, it will not miss you. Is there a straight line to it? Sure. There's also a curved line. There's also a back line. There's also a down. Guess what? There's also the next lifetime if that's when it's meant to happen. So no mistakes. And if it's meant for you, it finds you.
Yeah. Whether you want it to or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mom has a funny thing that she says, and she says, when you don't move, the universe moves you. And sometimes you get the 2x4. And in the moment we're like, why is this happening to me? But actually sometimes it sets us right back onto our life path of why we came here in the first place. And maybe we took a wrong turn somewhere, but I truly believe that we all came here for a purpose.
Yeah.
And sometimes we get off track, but with the universe's intelligence, it'll set us straight. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that. And the other thing is when we're comfortable, when everything is comfortable, we don't move. Why would we move? Everything's great. I'm very comfortable. I'm very happy here. When we are uncomfortable, it's like, what do I have to do? Where do I have to go? How do I have to shift? So it's the discomfort that is pushing us forward. Mm-hmm. That it's the most uncomfortable situations that we're going to grow from. And, I love this discussion and I see all this. And I like to add the caveat that I don't believe in spiritual bypassing. I don't believe in saying like, well, it's in the divine's will. Oh, well, you're learning a lesson, because I do want to acknowledge the pain and the suffering and the agony that life can be. And that is where I think the groups, the guides, the practices, the tools help us through those times. No modality, and if anyone promises you this, they just want your money. No modality is going to instantly make your pain or your suffering go away. It's all part of the experience, and finding the teachers and the practitioners to help us through it.
And the groups and the communities and the sense of belonging and the places where we can have these conversations without fear of judgment. Yes. And not feel like, oh my God, people are going to think I'm nuts if I share this, right? I think it's super important, especially right now.
Exactly. And if they do think we're nuts, then You know, it's like, okay, do we still fit together? I mean, it's another pain point, but it's like,
yeah, well said.
It's okay to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Absolutely okay.
What a juicy conversation. I'm loving all of this. Kristen, what wisdom can you share with our listeners who may be going through a shift or an awakening, beginning to like do self-inquiry, or even are just curious?
Yeah.
What would you like to share?
To find your people, to find whether it starts with a book, could even start with a bookstore. There's metaphysical bookstores. You can go in there. Sometimes they offer workshops or they have groups. You can go on Eventbrite. You can go on Nextdoor. The groups are out there. Start seeking. As soon as you start seeking, it will come to you. And don't be afraid to let curiosity lead you and to be playful about it. Not everything has to be so serious. You know, yes, I offer tarot card readings as part of my business, but I also encourage everyone to go get a deck of cards, go get a deck of oracle cards or tarot cards and play with them. What do they say to you? What do they bring up in you? What do you see in them? I think curiosity, playfulness, and finding support, however that looks, whether it's a group, a tool, a teacher, a practice.
Beautiful. I love that. Yeah.
Playfulness, yes. We could all use a little bit more of that in our lives for sure.
Gentleness with ourselves. Yeah.
Permission, you said permission at one point. It's like, yes, okay, we hereby grant everyone listening permission to be playful, to be curious.
Yeah.
Hmm?
I've often been told not to be so playful, but I'm working on that. Kristen, my goodness, I want to thank you so much for stepping into this space with us. It's been such a great conversation, and thank you so much for being open and sharing this time with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for being such gracious hostesses. Very happy to be here.
And how can our listeners find you?
So my website is Palo Alto Reiki. And will you guys put that in the notes or something, the spelling of it? Yeah. And so you can read more about my background on my website. You can book sessions on my website. And as mentioned at the beginning, I am local in Palo Alto, California, but also offer Zoom sessions for everything. So I currently have clients in Australia, in England, in Sweden. I work with people all over the globe because energy has no bounds. Energy reaches everywhere. And also I'm offering a promo code as well. So you can include that in your notes for your listeners, that they can have a savings if they listen and want to try Reiki for themselves or a card reading or learn more about my groups.
Wonderful. We will definitely share that, Kristen. Thank you so much for doing that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Lovely.
And for our listeners, if you feel nourished or inspired by the Veil Between Lives, please subscribe, like, share, comment, or leave a review. It helps these conversations reach the souls meant to find them.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.